Our new anime opens with our female lead, Tsukasa Tiara, and her friend doing things in their completely normal lives. And there's nice guy named Akimura was also pursuing her. But one day, as they were making their way home, some online reports about vampires killing humans started to circulate. So they initially didn't believe it, but as they were making their way home, they sensed that someone was following them. So Akimura immediately took Tsukasa out of that area. However, because Akimura is a vampire, our male protagonist Yuki Anzai managed to catch him in time. Vampires are gradually more powerful than normal people, and they lose all sense of reason the moment they smell or see blood. And not only that, but when vampires are out of control, they will also sexually exploit their victims. Yuki apprehended Akimura because he had previously killed 3 women and could have also killed Tsukasa. But Tsukasa got hurt in the process, so Yuki took him to her apartment. But as Yuki was about to leave, his gaze was drawn to Tsukasa's wound, causing him to lose control as well. However, due to his quick thinking, Yuki gave himself sedative to suppress his desire for blood and sexual desire. As time passed, it was still difficult to forget about Yuki, so Tsukasa returned to the same location to visit. And Yuki, on the other hand, was always following her just to be safe because Tsukasa is such a sweet girl. However, at the time, Yuki received a report of another vampire case, but he unintentionally dropped his wallet while leaving. So earlier, while her husband was assisting her in making dinner, he cut his finger and, despite knowing vampires are attracted to blood, he offered his blood to her. Seeing that she had lost control, then she began drinking his blood until she killed him. But it wasn't her fault that things turned out this way, her husband had simply placed too much trust in her. So, after being consoled by Yuki, she turned herself in, and the matter was resolved. Tsukasa, on the other hand, witnessed everything, but despite this, she started developing feelings for Yuki. She even invited him to a hot pot dinner because it was winter, to which Yuki agreed and said he would pick her up from school that day. As a result, Tsukasa was genuinely pleased to have Yuki's company that evening. However, just as she was about to leave her college, Tsukasa was sexually assaulted by a professor. But Yuki arrived in time to save Tsukasa from her professor, but after seeing Tsukasa's injured hand, Yuki could have gone insane. But he tried his hardest to resist as much as he could in order to get away from there in time and avoid hurting her again. So with that incident, they grew closer, and they even began having dinner together every day. And that they had only recently met, but Tsukasa was content with the way things were going. So when she decided to have hot pot again and was returning from shopping, a man who appeared to be a vampire stumbled upon her. Then, after hearing on the news that another vampire had killed a human, the same man made his way to Tsukasa's apartment. Ryunosuke was genuinely a nice person, and at his workplace, he had a friend who was always nice to her despite knowing Ryo was a vampire. However, the girl was murdered by someone else in order to make Ryunosuke a suspect, so he fled in terror, not because he murdered her, but because he did not want to become a bloodthirsty monster. So Yuki verified his identity and handed him over to his colleagues in order to solve the current murder case. However, later that night, a vampire was discovered murdered by a caliber gun. So Takashi, one of Yuki's colleagues, came to the conclusion that there might be a syndicate operating in the shadows, because this would be yet another vampire murder case. On the other hand, things were getting clearer between Yuki and Tsukasa, but then Yuki was shot by a sniper, and while defending Yuki from another shot, Tsukasa was injured. Now things became more difficult now that Yuki saw the blood again, but his feelings for Tsukasa helped him resist the temptation. So, despite the harsh conditions, Yuki pursued and attempted to apprehend the sniper, but the shipper fatally shot Yuki, severely injuring his lungs. Yuki could have died as a result of that fatal shot, but a mysterious man arrived in time to save him by giving him blood to heal himself. However, after drinking that much blood, Yuki completely lost his sanity and was capable of murdering anyone on sight. But Lee was still holding him off, just as Tsukasa arrived with Yanagi and Takashi in the hope of stopping Yuki. But it was pointless because he was completely consumed by bloodlust. Tsukasa got in Yuki's way in the hopes that he would stop, so Lee knocked him out at the perfect moment and saved Tsukasa's life. Yanagi then gave Yuki a tranquilizer to calm him down. Yuki could have murdered Tsukasa that time, if it hadn't been for Lee getting in the way to stop him. So after that, Yuki stopped contacting Tsukasa because he held himself accountable for nearly killing her and locked himself up, so hoping to find any information about Yuki's whereabouts. Tsukasa went the incident site, and there she ran into Joanna Kleeman again, who was looking for his cross after losing it while fighting Yuki. Yuki is a half vampire, half human. Lee is also a half-blood vampire as well, and he has even developed a blood tolerance by regularly consuming a small amount of blood. Therefore, even if he sees blood, he won't become insane as a result, and daily consuming blood also expand his life. Because the average vampire can only live for 39 years. Drinking blood on a daily basis benefits a vampire in a variety of ways, including increasing his power, healing his wounds, and, most importantly, extending his lifespan. So Tsukasa decided to teach Yuki this method so that she could live with him. However, the organization that hunts vampires unexpectedly arrived by assassinating a newscaster in crowd. In order to demonstrate how vicious vampires can be, but because Lee was present, he attempted to manage the situation. However, the organization had meticulously planned to expose the vampire's existence to the world by broadcasting it live. Tsukasa, on the other hand, aided a child by drawing the vampire's attention to her. Fortunately, Yuki arrived in time to save her because he was also watching the news channel live on TV. But he was still hesitant to confront Tsukasa because he had seen her blood yet again. So he used a tranquilizer on himself to quell his bloodlust once more. And now that Yuki was in front of Tsukasa, she didn't hesitate to express her feelings to Yuki. Yuki was speechless at the time because of the previous incident with his bloodlust. It made him doubt himself whether he was a hybrid or not, but it didn't matter to Tsukasa because she fell in love with him. Speaking of half-breeds, she tells Yuki about Lee, who is also half-breed, and how she ran into him while he was looking for his cross. The cross Lee was searching for is actually a representation of the Onlo Orphanage, a research facility that raises orphan vampires and also where Yuki was raised. But Yuki had never heard of any other hybrid being present in that location besides him. However, they were forced to hide as soon as the police arrived that way, and Yuki was still under the influence of drugs. He could have fallen to his death, but Lee found them while looking for Tsukasa after she vanished, and he saved them again. So, out of concern for the safety of Tsukasa and Lee, Takashi allowed them to stay at Sakaki's bar, where Yuki was staying. Sakaki owns the entire building, and he also allowed Juliana, one of Yuki's colleagues, to stay there. So now Takashi was concerned about their safety because, now that the existence of vampires had been revealed, the government was planning to take action to prevent incidents like this from happening. So, when the opportunity presented itself, Tsukasa informed him of Lee's technique for obtaining blood tolerance. And to help Yuki develop a tolerance for blood, she offered him some of her own blood to help him gain tolerance like Lee. Hearing that, Yuki got upset because there is almost no reports existed of vampires developing a blood tolerance or getting healed by drinking blood. So Takashi and Lee were able to see that the government was concealing information about tolerance and healing. Furthermore, the government also conceals the fact that Lee healed Yuki by giving him blood, which was also not mentioned in the official police report. On the other hand, the sniper who nearly killed Yuki was betrayed by her own people, and the organization had also captured her friend, implying that both were aware of something that threatened their organization. After that, the guy who killed the sniper, their organization's leader O2, killed his own partner in crime to put an end to the matter. O2 is a double agent, his another name is Kirio. He was also working in the police department, and secretly also leads a squad that kills vampires. On one hand he betrayed his partners and on another he saved one of them well. Aside from their matter, there were several reports of a mob killing vampire after the incident that went live. Furthermore, the government has issued an order to temporarily suspending vampires from all departments. But still, however, things were too cheesy with the government because they were concealing the fact that vampires could develop tolerance and heal themselves after drinking blood, as if the government was attempting to dupe vampires and kill them. Suddenly, the same cameraman who had been recording the entire viral vampire incident attacked Ryunosuke. Fortunately, he was saved by Yuki and Lee. Ryunosuke was the target because the police department knew he was a vampire, but that knowledge was kept a secret. Takashi was immediately aware that a mole in the department had been giving the syndicate the identity of the vampire. To save Ryunosuke, Takashi therefore told a police officer at the police department that he had gone missing. It turns out that Makimura is also a mole in the department that actually works for the syndicate. So, Yanagi, Sakasa, and Juliana, on the other hand, rushed there after hearing about Ryunosuke. They discovered that Ryunosuke witnessed the murder the night before, but it was ruled an accident. They were aware that the syndicate had something to do with this. Due to Ryunosuke's injury, they decided to get better treatment for him first as a temporary measure. But the sniper who was stabbed was also at the same hospital where she was saved by the same person who had betrayed her, so she was about to flee. But she saw Yanagi and thought he might be there to apprehend her because he is a cop, so she took Sakasa as a hostage and fled from there. So, what happened next? What will be the fate of Yuki and Sakasa? What is Yuki's true identity? And why is the syndicate assisting in the abolition of vampires? If you want to know what happened next, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to be notified when the second half of this video is uploaded. Until then, everyone take care of themselves.